How's it going, everybody? I got a half cup of lukewarm coffee, and this morning I noticed that my Liberty Safe video was going nuts. Everybody was leaving comments about what had just happened, and since I had a video that has nearly 1 million views with the safe in the background, I guess I got to talk about it. And as somebody that has a quasi-legal background, something that there was a lot of questions I had with this, and I felt like Liberty just did not get out in front of this very well. Their marketing team should be let go, and there's a lot of questions here that I want to talk about in this video. Did Liberty really mess up? Did the FBI mess up? What really happened? Let's talk about it. You know, we're all worried about the weaponization of law enforcement and politics and all these things. There was a lot of questions, like when I was reading through the comments, I was seeing memes being thrown out like this, of people putting their liberties by the side of the road, ready for the garbage man. And, you know, when you buy a safe, you have this expectation of security and privacy and prevention of your most precious things from being just ripped away from you. And as I explained in my video about the secrets of safe companies, I talked about this illusion of safety and security. All these things are is a metal box, okay, and with a cheap lock and the electric lock. And when I saw that Liberty was storing these passwords, these master lock combinations at their company, I was like, uh-oh. And when I made that video, a lot of people were saying, oh, your serial number is exposed and, you know, you should be worried. So I contacted Liberty and I wanted to find out for myself, like, how this whole process works. And this is something that this is something that nobody's really talked about in some of the videos I've seen. As somebody that's had their bank accounts hacked, as somebody that is always worried about security, I wanted to put these things out there that people didn't know about safes, bank accounts, and your protection, really, okay? So the meat and potatoes of this video is, did Liberty violate some trust? Did law enforcement overstep? Will Liberty go out of business? That is a real question. And will this situation be the Bud Light controversy of the safe world? And here's my opinions on it. And when I saw that they were storing these password or these combinations somewhere with a master key code, I was like, what? And if you've paid attention to the crypto world, the Bitcoin world, the Ethereum world, Ledger had the same thing going on. And I guess the safe companies are just too old school to understand what Ledger had a problem with their marketing team. You know, it came out that the Ledger device does store the combinations, and that since it came from Ledger, people were worried about Ledger was keeping a secret ledger of combinations, just like these people were. As you know, I took this off, and I'll tell you why later, their brand. I contacted the company and was like, hey, I think my combination has been exposed. How can you assure me that I'm protected? And they sent me an email saying that it would take, you know, a locksmith and a notary to get the combination. And I was like, so you do have them? And when I saw that online, when they had given up the combination, what they didn't understand, that when it hits the internet, there is this gray area between how you put it out and the truth and the legalities, and then what the internet is going to do with it. And when I first read their first tweet, Liberty's first tweet, I was like, so you gave it to them without a court order? Right? I was like, you gave it to them without a subpoena? You just gave it to them. And that's the way it read. Whether they did or didn't, the way it is put forward on the internet, they should have come out and said, hey, today we were served with a a warrant or a subpoena or a request for documents from the whatever district court, federal court, because of the FBI investigation, we had to blah, 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 blah. So when you go and look at Twitter, the time that the investigation happened, the raid happened, and the time that I think it was the Hodge twins tweeted it happening, the gap in that amount of time on social media was enough to crush Liberty. They should have came out in front immediately and said, this is what happened, as soon as they were allowed to comment on the investigation, and said, here's the warrant, here's what happened, we did not give it up without a warrant. But that short amount of time that they didn't say, there was a question, when there was a question on whether they gave it up without a warrant or with a warrant, that was enough to collapse the trust in a business. And I feel like they were in a rock and a hard place, but at the same time, they had to say something. And they should have somebody come out and talk about it, not just a post on Twitter. Because what happens with those posts is everybody reads between the lines, the words, whether you said subpoena or you said warrant or you said this or you said that. And every person on the internet goes and twists it. And so they just didn't put it out correctly. And I think it's enough for there to be enough content on the internet now to really hurt that company. And they're going to have a hard time getting it back. And as far as why I took my label off here is when I saw that they could do this, when I saw that they were keeping the records, whether you wanted to or not. And not because I have anything to hide, but because as a social media person, somebody gets your personal information. And that's how my bank accounts got hacked, was they had enough information freely on the internet for them to get the bank to change your password. And that's wild. I strongly suggest you to go to the bank and demand that the only way you can change your password is if you go into the bank with a valid ID and sit down in front of their camera and request another password, because this type of information can be weaponized against you. I'm not pointing this at law enforcement at all. I'm just saying, in theory, this stuff can come back to get you. And a lot of people put their security on things like metal boxes and banks. And just like when law enforcement goes to the bank, they're going to say, hey, here's our warrant for this person. We need their records, or we need to get in their account, or we need you to freeze it. And that's how that rolls. Same thing with these type companies with a safe. Hey, here's our warrant. We need these combinations. Give it to us now. And that's how the legal system works. But I feel like the way they rolled it out on social media was too slow, it was too clunky, and too many gray areas. And that's where they went wrong. That's the way I figured it would have gone down. Because the FBI, however you may think this case is going on, if they go and get a judge to issue an order, well, that's how our justice system works. But the fact is, they're called Liberty Safe, and your 4th, 5th, and 6th Amendment rights, and then your confidentiality illusion you have with your clients. They should have thought about that when they were keeping those records. You know, a lot of companies like Apple and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they either encrypt it to where they can't retrieve it, or they don't hold it at all, or they open source it where nobody can figure it out. And because if you don't, the FBI, the law enforcement, just going to hit you with an obstruction charge, and then you're going to be in real trouble. Or they're going to hit you with falsification, all different types of things. You know, I'm not here to blame the FBI. I know they've gotten a lot of bad flack lately in the media. I'm not here to blame law enforcement. You know, I'm a veteran. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I keep my head down and I pay my taxes. But the fact that if law enforcement did what they were supposed to do, you can't get mad at them for asking. It's the problem that they gave it. The company Liberty gave it without the proper paperwork? That is the question. Did they do that? And when they came out and gave this tweet, they should have probably said, here was the paperwork that the FBI gave us. Here is the request. Here's the order. And this is what we had to do. Not just say, well, yeah, we had to give it up. Well, those that have a mind of the Constitution and trusted a company for their illusion of safety, that is the problem, in my opinion. And I feel like the Liberty should have got out in front of it. The FBI would get into this bad boy one way or another. Whether they bring a locksmith in and open it, or they bring a torch in and cut it open and set half the place on fire while they're doing it, they're just going to send you, or the person being raided, the bill. And then they're going to probably tack on a 10% confiscation holding cost on top of it. And that's why I'm not saying anything about the law enforcement side of it. They did their job, most likely. Hopefully there's no political agenda in there. But if a judge says, go forth and get these documents, they went forth and did it. Now, I haven't seen the warrant. The warrant, that will be for the lawyer to go over in court on whether the due process or the chain of custody or any of that was done wrong. And at court, in a court setting, they will go over and say, is this admissible or not? And look, I know some people are going to say, well, why aren't you talking about the case? I don't know anything about this case. His case, any of it. I only want to talk about the safe sitting behind me. Okay, I don't know enough about the case. I don't know what it's about. Like, I kind of know what it's about, but it's really, there's a lot of politics and things that are in that whole entire thing that I don't even want to get a part in. I don't do politics. I do finance, real estate, and I like to vlog stuff. I like to make cool little movies. And that's why I'm not commenting on the case itself. I'm not commenting on any of the elements of that case or anything to do with that stuff. That is for other channels. I just want to talk about, did the company mess up and how they went about doing this? And do I feel safe as a Liberty customer? I would be happy to chunk this thing out into the woods and shoot it with 500 rounds. If another company would like to send me a safe, because that one was expensive. And Browning, if you would like to send one. But I will say this is the space for other gun safes, safe companies to jump in the mix and say, you know what? How about you try one of our safes? Your combination isn't stored anywhere. And I've always said the big problem with these safes, let's say you have a really expensive $5,000 safe, is the lock. You lose the combination, everything inside of it, she gone, okay? Or a professional is just going to walk in and open your lock and no big deal. If a locksmith can get into it, anybody can get into it. So why not just have the tin can that if they're going to steal, there's nothing in it? There's nothing in mine. Like, you would be gravely disappointed, and it'd make a great YouTube video. Don't do it. Do not try to mess with my safe. But I'm just saying, you will be all over the internet, your face, and it will be a bad day. So that's really it. The question really was what did Liberty mess up? And I think that they messed up the way they put it out to the public. They could have messed up on just giving over the information. I mean, law enforcement can ask you for anything. And it's up to you to say, hey, my Fourth Amendment or my Fifth Amendment or Sixth Amendment rights say blah, blah, blah. I don't consent, but I'm not going to obstruct, right? And, you know, I'm not a lawyer, but that's usually how this goes. And then on the other side, the law enforcement will say, I respect your constitutional rights. I'll get the warrant, or I have probable cause to get this. And that's what the lawyer does. And that's what he tries to say. So I thought a long time on how to do this video. I almost didn't do it because, you know, looking at the political agenda and going into 2024, it is getting scary on what the government or what people may see as radical or scary. And as a family man, you got to think about these things. Like, do I really want to open my mouth on this subject? Like, do I truly have a First Amendment right to speak out on something I see that is questionable, and your right to redress your government? Because that's how policies are changed. When, somebody can't sit at a table in a restaurant and people have a problem with it and they speak out about it and the law gets changed. And, there's a big question on whether companies have a fiduciary right, if they're holding private information, to not give that up without proper government searches and seizures procedures. I said procedures too many times. But that is the question. And if the government goes through the right channels and courses of events, cool. If not, liberty should be held responsible. Like whether it is criminally or civilly. Like maybe there is some type of debate there. And that's really my opinion on this, guys. Comment down below with what you think about what Liberty did. And if it's right or wrong, I'm just saying, here's my questions. This is not really my full thoughts on it. I'm just trying to post it to you guys on whether Liberty will crash and burn. And I think they probably will. And here's why. Because this is a product. And products get reviews. And reviews live on the internet. And when you shop for a safe like I did, I looked at all the videos. And then now that I know that really anybody can get your master code for this thing and go right in. Now, this thing just holds grandpa's old shotgun. The safe probably costs more than the stuff that's in the safe. And it's really just to keep the kid away from the old gun, okay? And so if you really have your most prized possessions in it in the middle of the room that everybody knows you got, well, you already failed. So I'm just saying, this is an illusion of security. If the federal government wants your stuff, they're going to get it. Don't act like they won't. In today's day and age, anybody with a computer can get just about anything, just the way it is. Same way with a burglar, same way with anybody. And I'm not plotting, I'm not conspirating, I'm just saying nothing is safe in a safe. And that's all I got to really say. See you guys next time.